Good pieces of news this morning. Number one, I'm not going to give any homework till tomorrow.
Just who is this man, Dean Kamen?
I guess I'm somebody who is absorbed by work. And some people, I think, misunderstand that and think that's a problem, or I don't get a chance to have fun. To me, life is a blur of my activities. It's only a job if you'd rather be doing something else.
From our last visit, you might recall Dean Kamen piloting his jet chopper with the Star Wars theme blaring from the cockpit. His fleet of helicopters and antique cars parked in his household hangar.
That's a 10-horsepower DC servo run by servos up in there. People told us I couldn't build a door that would come in and out of place in 21 seconds.
But you did.
But we did.
Every home should have one.
Every home should have one. This is a 1913 Model T, a machine that many credit with changing the world.
Ooh, beautiful. And his magnificent home in the hills of New Hampshire. A home he shares with the machines he so worships.
All these parts will be sliding and turning and spinning.
In this house?
In this house, it'll be running, and it will be the most beautiful piece of kinetic sculpture you've ever seen.
I don't doubt that, but remind me not to sleep over. So looks to me like it'd be fairly noisy.
It will be virtually silent. It will be virtually silent.
Machines.
Well, you'll see. You see, just in a few degrees, look at it.
Dean Kamen believes in machines, in their ability to solve the world's problems. While still in his 20s, he designed and built some medical marvels, like the auto syringe, which gives a patient an exact dose of medicine at exactly the right time, and a portable self-serve kidney dialysis machine. He made millions from those devices, and from his company headquarters in Manchester, he then developed a new machine called the iBot.
An iBot is a device that allows a disabled person, a person that cannot walk, to basically do all the ordinary things that you take for granted that they can't do, even with a wheelchair, like go up a curb.
Using a complex array of gyroscopes, computers, and a battery-powered motor, the iBot can jump curves and climb and descend stairs. The key to the iBot is its use of sophisticated gyroscopes, high-tech versions of the kind most kids play with. The gyroscopes, when tied in with computers, make the vehicle self-balancing, the way a toddler learns to balance himself on his feet. And the vehicle can stand up on its wheels, elevating the user to eye level with the rest of the world. It's an aging Anchorman Express. It's expected to be available next year at an estimated cost of $25,000 per unit.
Let go of the joystick and just...
But it was its self-balancing technology, those computer-linked gyros, that led Dean Kamen to his next big thing. What a hot dog.
Thank you.
The Segway Human Transporter, formerly known in the media as IT. If you haven't seen a Segway crop up somewhere in the past year, you've probably been living in a cave.
Hello.
It's been featured on TV shows like Frasier.
Hey, can I ride on that thing?
Nothing would please me more. But no.
It's appeared at motor races, where the Michelin company, which makes the tires, uses it in the pit areas. And while it's not yet available for sale to consumers, police in some major cities have been experimenting with it, as have postal workers, with their mail bags on the side.
I don't want you to think that I'm naive enough to think we can start at the end position of putting segways in all the big and polluted and congested cities of the world. We're a little tiny business. We need to figure out how to sustain ourselves.
It is not so tiny a business. This streamlined assembly plant in Bedford, New Hampshire is poised to turn out as many as 3,000 segways a day. Like the self-balancing iBot wheelchair, The Segway uses computer-linked gyros and an electric motor to glide the rider across the ground as though on a magic carpet. It can go about 12 miles an hour, depending on the computer setting. Lean forward and you go forward. Lean back and you go back. To Dean Kamen, the Segway is Deus Ex Machina, God from the machine.
Today, 3.2 billion people live in cities. More than half the human population lives in cities. If we could give them an attractive, productive alternative to using great big vehicles to get around at speeds of 6 or 7 or 8 miles an hour, which is the average speed of a taxi cab in the 20 largest cities on this planet, it would by itself be a huge, huge solution to the congestion and pollution and energy demand problems that this world's facing today.
But will those congested cities embrace the Segway and allow its use on sidewalks? We decided to take our own survey. In Boston, where both the police department and postal workers have been experimenting with Segways, Transportation Commissioner Andrea D'Amato says that while she admires the technology, she can't see the Segway coexisting with pedestrians here.
Our streets are narrow and our sidewalks are even narrower. So we would be a very difficult city in which to have these type of vehicles on our sidewalks.
In Philadelphia, Streets Commissioner William Johnson, an engineer, is also wary of allowing Segways on sidewalks.
It makes a big difference if you've got 1 or 2 of these devices on a sidewalk or 10,000 on a sidewalk where you've got lots of pedestrians, lots of opportunities for conflict. Our concern would be safety.
I would never want to make the claim that this device cannot or in fact will not eventually be involved in accidents. So the question becomes, when does good judgment say how safe is safe enough?
Good morning.
Apparently it's more than safe enough for Atlanta, where that city's so-called ambassadors have been using Segways to help direct tourists.
Take a left, go down 1 block.
And police have been patrolling busy Hartsdale Airport.
This sidewalk's a pretty good sidewalk because it used to be...
City Planning Director Tom Wayant sees the Segway as the means for Atlanta's mostly suburban population to get to mass transit stations without using their cars.
We could triple the distance that people are willing to travel to get to transit. It makes the option of using transit much more real for this community and gives us an alternative to the single passenger automobile for work trips, for pleasure trips, for trips to the ball game. It won't eliminate cars, but it gives us an option that we've never really considered before at all.
They're hazardous. They're dangerous.
But in San Francisco, no one is rolling out the welcome wagon for Segway.
They basically have just rammed it down our throats.
Pedestrian rights advocate Michael Smith and his supporters fear the Segway will become the SUV of the sidewalks.
Segway is a well-funded company. They have supposedly spent $100 million on development. They've also spent a great deal of money lobbying almost every state in the United States now to pass legislation allowing these devices.
If you're blind or if you're deaf, you don't know these things are coming. And so all suddenly you get hit by something and you don't know what's going on.
And what it seems to be is they expect to sell a ton of these very quickly, make a bundle of money, and then cut their losses because they're just going to be sued up the wazoo. There's going to be broken limbs all over the sidewalks, and people will say, why did we let this happen?
All right, I'm a reporter. I go to the mayor, and the mayor says, well, I am concerned about safety per se, but perhaps we could get by that. But let me tell you, Dan, the big problem here is liability. We allow these things on the sidewalks, and we're going to have one liability suit after another, and I just can't see our city approving it for that reason. You say what?
I would say to you that the legal system in the United States is broken. I think there is a lot of opportunity to improve the lives of a lot of people that have been substantially impeded by people not being willing to take appropriate chances in changing the way we all live.
In Chicago, at the Museum of Science and Industry, surrounded by the icons of transportation, Director David Messina, a former Transit Authority chief, tries to put opposition to the Segway in some